Ascent Podcast.
Hey everyone, Matthew here. Before we begin today's show, I just want to remind everyone of this month's sponsor, Whale Street. Whale Street is the DeFi engine that powers NFT economics on a massive scale. They make huge currency swaps happen, or whale swaps as they're called, with very small slippage costs and without crashing the system. They also engineered the largest ever NFT bundle and fractionalized it into the historic B20 tokens. Whale Street is all about upside, so dip into the liquidity pools for rich rewards. For B20, join discord.com/whale. That's discord.com/WHALE. And follow Whale Street on Twitter @WhaleStreetOFFL. Thank you and enjoy the show. Okay, Joseph, Vlad, welcome to the Matthew Rizzle Show.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah. So to get started, I think it would be really cool if both Joseph and Vlad, you could introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your careers, your professional background, and then take us through what NFT Protocol is and what you're building out there.
Sure. Thank you. If you don't mind, Joseph, I'll get started. I'm Vladislav Ginsburg, Vlad for short. I'm the CEO at Blockparty, which is an NFT platform focusing on music and art NFTs and fan engagement. We're really proud of the platform we built. It's a blockchain agnostic, we like to think of it as a very blockchain agnostic, easy access NFT platform for first-time NFT buyers and experienced crypto users alike. We're excited that we're able to, bring together NFTs from both Ethereum and other chains. Prior to Blockparty, I worked in the fine art business for a decade as an art dealer, as an artist manager, and also as an art investment fund leader. I raised a fine art investment fund that had $150 million in assets under management at its peak, and I transitioned full-time to the blockchain world in approximately end of 2016, 2017. And joined Blockparty as it was founded at the late part of 2017 when we were experimenting with NFTs as event tickets. Obviously, a lot of that has changed, but here we are. So go ahead, Joseph.
Thanks, Vlad. Hey, I'm Joseph. I've been involved in the crypto space since just around 2012. Started mining altcoins, learning about Bitcoin, making improvements to Bitcoin-based altcoins. And ever since I found out about it, I've been working in the space full time. And that has led me through companies like SolidX, founding companies like Alexandria, which is a decentralized media organization. I worked at Galaxy for 2 years, and now I'm CTO of Blockparty and the lead developer of NFT Protocol.
I'm just curious if you could kind of take us through that progression from working on tickets, then focusing on, I guess, just the NFT collectible, the art aspect, and now what you're doing with sort of this 2.0 evolution, if you will, of working on the NFT protocol, like how the project has evolved over time.
Sure. That's a great question because that informs a lot of decisions we've made for this, for this 2.0 of our project. So we had a really great, launch in May 2018, where we got to ticket our own launch party at Blockchain Week, did a live demonstration of NFT ticketing at a music festival just 2 weeks later for like an event within an event, and then ticketed a music festival end to end, 5,000 tickets in September of 2018. So we had this really wonderful, big first year of accomplishing so many things. And, oftentimes we think about NFTs as the consumer application of blockchain, right? This is how regular people, music fans, sports fans, et cetera, are going to interact with the blockchain. And so, whereas we know all the things that, NFTs could become in 2018. What it actually felt like in the field, so to speak, was, 5,000 people trying to get into a music festival and scanning a ticket, kicking back a confirmation time after like 45 seconds. And that's not really like fan friendly. And, and we, and fans are like, wait a minute, we're used to like certain behaviors like, hey, I bought 4 tickets for me and my 3 friends. Why can't I have all 4 tickets in my ticket wallet? And they don't really want to hear that this is a token and it must live in a wallet and this is how we guarantee ownership. And these are things that matter a lot to us as people who believe in blockchains, but when the fan just wants to get and see a show, they're like, well, you just got to make it easy and fast for me. And so, we kind of learned a lot from having music and art fans just touching NFTs in in the live setting like that. And it wasn't, and whereas I'm like doing backflips, like excited that, oh my God, this is happening, we're doing it. I'm not getting the same enthusiasm from people. And as 2018 became 2019, it was clear as I'm pitching blockchain ticketing to every, to every music festival, every art fair, every sports team that'll listen to me. And by that point, we've sort of formally entered into crypto winter. So nobody was curious about in those fields, like curious about crypto anymore. And so basically I was getting a lot of, whereas I was getting curiosity, into 2019, it was mostly like, okay, can your blockchain help me sell more tickets? No. Can your blockchain help me, make more money? Well, not in any way that's currently legal. Okay, well, see you later, right? And so we really had to go back to the drawing board. But one thing that I was picking up on is that those very same events that were kind of like poo-pooing ticketing were also like really needing help in engaging their fans in a new way, because events were getting so saturated. Whereas there used to be like 2 major art fairs, suddenly there were like 200 major art fairs. And, instead of there being a handful of major music festivals, they're every single weekend and oftentimes multiple per weekend. So everybody was super interested in sort of like, how can we engage fans in like a whole new and different way, first of all. And then second of all, I recall being on a ticketing panel with folks from Eventbrite and SeatGeek and StubHub and Ticketmaster and all these organizations that we kind of would think about as like these evil monolithic organizations that are like out to get the consumer. And perhaps that's actually true in the way the organizations behave. But in that moment, I was sitting with a bunch of people that just loved music and loved events and work in those areas because that's what they love doing. And we did just have this like moment of clarity where we were all like talking about all ticketing going digital and sort of feeling badly about how all of us collect ticket stubs and how can we capture that forever, even though tickets nowadays are just ugly QR codes on a white background. And that was really kind of when the gears started turning for the first time of like, maybe the access control portion of what blockchain is and NFTs can be isn't the killer app. What if it is actually getting into something that fans already do and creators already do, which is collect things and create things to be collected. Musicians are making music, but think about how much time they spend making visual art with other creators, whether it's merchandise, whether it's a poster for the show, whether it's the stage design, whether it's a million things. And think about how much fans are collectors. They collect wristbands to shows. They collect merchandise. They collect a lot of things. Art is no different. Digital art has been around for decades and decades and decades. It's just not really monetized because it's hard to collect. And that was my art background talking, which is, wait a minute, photography used to be uncollectible until prints got good. And I would just have these thoughts until we realized that we were really selling ourselves short by focusing on NFTs only as access control. And actually, NFTs really could be anything that is non-fungible, which is damn near everything. And so a lot of the lessons we learned from touching consumers as with an NFT product in the live event space, plus some of that background in the art world, really was like, okay, why don't we make a step towards expanding our NFT offering from just tickets to all things that are collectible? And as we've learned, Ethereum is really amazing for a lot of things, and it may just not be a great thing for event tickets, but maybe other blockchains would be better for that purpose. And other blockchains are becoming NFT compatible or are naturally. And anyway, this is all like a bunch of like thoughts, not really a business model yet. And that's around the time that Joseph Fischella joined the organization as our CTO and helped me understand that effectively, like outside of commodities, effectively everything that we trade online is not fungible. And why don't we really lean into that and really productize that? And so that really informed the creation of this new version of Blockparty, which is for all NFTs. But again, we focus really strongly on art and music. And by building in a custodial transaction layer, but never stopping a user from withdrawing onto Ethereum or Flow or any of these blockchains that we use. We do our sort of consumer-friendly version of blockchain, but because our roots are in decentralization and we care very deeply about decentralization, and we want to keep ourselves and the industry honest about decentralization, we work really equally hard at creating NFT Protocol. And I'll let Joseph speak more to that, but NFT Protocol exists to be, a decentralized project for all NFTs.
Would love to hear what Joe's got to say, man. My first experience with NFT ticketing was at NFT NYC last year, and it was sort of like what you've described, man. It was an interesting experience. It didn't quite like follow like the conventional experience I've had when purchasing or redeeming a ticket or getting entry into something like that. But at the same time, man, it is awesome to have that memorabilia with me at all times. And really interested to hear how, what you've learned and, whether you think the angle is to educate consumers or to just get things more in a way that is familiar to them or somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I was at NFT NYC and I love that. I love that there were a lot of people there that are already using NFTs and are already, excited about this space or working in the space and innovating in the space. And so for those of us that are familiar with NFTs, we were 100% like, we were me doing a backflip at that Best Life Music Festival of like, holy shit, can I do that? We were like, oh my God, we can do NFT ticketing and we can have this thing forever. And it's on chain and this is so meaningful for our industry, and our industry is all together celebrating NFTs in New York at a time that maybe we shouldn't be in a super crowded place, but it's fine. And that was good. But there was also a lot of folks there that were presenting or there to learn about NFTs that weren't native to cryptocurrency, and I believe that it was possible to, if I remember correctly, you could also get an Eventbrite ticket to that one.
Not sure, man. You're talking to NFT people, so we all had the NFTs.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? Like we know what we're doing with NFTs, so we're definitely going to go use NFTs. What we found at Blockparty was, when we're ticketing a music festival for R&B headlined by Her and LMA, that how awesome decentralization has taken a back seat to how quickly I need to be able to buy and sell and, get in. And so, it was, what I think is the best thing that we can hope to accomplish as a company is bridge that gap By having a custodial blockchain system where the transactions take place, it is not necessarily in the spirit of decentralization, but it is welcoming to all. And I think the hope that that's really critical to why we do what we do, and how we reconcile it with how important this technology is to us, is no NFT is ever meant to live as a Blockparty exclusive NFT, right? The creator will select, this should be an Ethereum NFT, or this should be a Flow NFT. The transaction layer happens on the Blockparty private blockchain, but once the transaction has happened and the owner of the NFT has it, we'll never stop them from connecting their MetaMask and withdrawing the NFT onto MetaMask. And in fact, the goal of our content is to encourage first-time users to do that. So if I'm in my account, which is really my wallet, and I see a button to connect MetaMask, and I don't even know what that means or what that's all about, there will be content there. Oh, MetaMask wallet is this, and it does that. And the reason you should care about self-custody is all the reasons that we care about self-custody. And I think the hope is that basically, I'm aware that we're going to also bring in a lot of people that are already crypto savvy or already NFT savvy, and they're going to come in, they're going to withdraw to MetaMask right away. They're going to move on to NFT Protocol, and we're happy to have serviced them. But for the really first time users, we're really kind of hoping to, with content that is exciting to them, welcome them into the NFT space, learn about the NFT space, and I hope that we churn out some folks that are curious, that start clicking around, that start finding their way onto different products, and start being like, well, why the hell would I want a custodial wallet? Let me get out there, and really get into the weeds. And that's ultimately how we're going to succeed. I think personally, how we're going to succeed as industry is onboarding as many new entrants as possible.
Dude, you guys have a tremendous challenge on your hands. I mean, this is something that's been the subject of much conversation amongst Matt and I, is just how to onboard new people in a relatively frictionless way. Unless you already have like a fairly frictionless product, it's tough, man, as I know you guys know. What do you see on your end as far as like the biggest hurdle in getting new adoption?
I would say the very baseline question of what is this? Right, and why do I care? And we find that we make that part easier on ourselves by focusing on music and art, two specific genres that breed the most passionate collectors that don't even realize they're collecting. And so they already collect art, or they already collect ephemera from their favorite stuff, and music and art and sports or whatever. We're just giving them one more thing to collect. And we're just giving, one more thing for those creators to create. And we're just trying to make that interchange feel as familiar as possible to both buyer and seller. So that way they're sort of getting onboarded in a way that also feels like something they're used to. And once we get there, at that point, as I mentioned, we want to give them the resources and an encouraging push towards caring about all the other things that come with it. So I think a good example of what I mean is that if you can imagine, the last couple of weeks, months, whatever, have gotten really, really heated up in terms of NFTs, and now the entire world is trying to do it, and every like pop act is trying to do it. And I'm friendly with the founder of a very popular music festival, and he's been listening to me talk about NFTs for 3 years, and finally he cares. So the guy owns a whole bunch of Ethereum, but he owns it on Coinbase, and his eyes sort of glaze over when I, as an experienced crypto user, I'm like, dude, get off Coinbase, like get on, set up a wallet for yourself, like, not your keys, not your coins, but like he's just not listening, right? But now NFTs are big, right? So he knows about Blockparty, but he's like, let me go try OpenSea, let me go try some other platforms. So now I'm getting texts like, what's a MetaMask? And I'm like, well, that's the wallet. You guys know the whole thing. So he logs into one of the things, to one of the platforms to try to shop around, and he moves a whole bunch of his Ethereum from Coinbase onto MetaMask. So mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned. But March 1st or the last day of February, whatever it was, I got a panicked set of text messages at 3 a.m. that he can't get into his MetaMask. And he didn't, and I'm like, did you get the 12-word seed phrase? And he's like, no. And now like utter panic has ensued. And so fortunately, it was actually, he couldn't log in because his like the fingerprint entry was being wonky. It eventually worked, disaster averted. But it's like that kind of experience that makes people it makes people, I guess what I'm saying is like pushing somebody like full speed into self-custody can be scary and can be uncomfortable. And so I think that's where the onboarding is. Get them in a Coinbase sort of custodial sense, just get them into the system. And once they're in the system, then try to educate.
So, I mean, the onboarding definitely includes the education part. And it also includes, I think, what you guys are trying to do and what a lot of other projects are doing in this space in creating just amazing content assets that people covet and want to scoop up, right? So, I mean, over on your end, is it just crypto or nothing, or are you working on solutions to help incorporate like fiat on-ramps and credit card purchases and things like that to help facilitate and make it a little bit smoother and less frictionless, or more frictionless rather?
So that on the Blockparty side, that's the key benefit of having a private and custodial blockchain, which is we're connected with Stripe. So we're able to sell NFTs for credit card payments. In fact, since August, I would say 70% of our sales have been in USD. But when it comes to and you kind of see those splits happen exactly as you might expect. So we, on September 9th, we did the first ever Blau Slime Sunday drop, and that was a largely that was actually probably more crypto than we expected, but that also speaks to Blau's level of credibility in the crypto space. But prior to that, we did 3 New York City like graffiti artists who were making their first NFTs. A vast majority of those sales were to their fans, and that was a much heavier USD purchase. It was pretty evenly split with Slime Sunday and Blau. And then as the months went on, you had like a heavy skew towards USD. And when we finished our prototype cycle at the end of the calendar year, going into January, you saw like Ethereum payments make a surge back. But ultimately that netted out at about 70-30. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, we try to make it a better experience by, creating a username and password. A wallet is assigned to that person. They're used, you can use credit card or crypto. And again, we try to make it a welcoming experience and yet also make it instantaneous to be able to withdraw your NFT once you purchased it, wherever you have to go. So, we're trying to make it, I guess, comfortable for the early user, but also, allowing people to fast track out of a custodial system if they're more interested in non-custodial. and that's for the creator as well. The creator can also choose to mint directly onto Ethereum or mint directly onto Flow instead of mint onto Blockparty first.
How do you, especially dealing with new users, man, like what's the elevator pitch as to why you would mint on one blockchain versus another? I mean, do you just say gas? I assume they don't necessarily know that right away, but yeah, what is the explanation?
Sure. I've found it most successful to like demystify, like everybody's like, oh, blockchain, I don't get it. And I'm like, yeah, you do. It's software. Right. And like these are just this is software, and it's software that we all very deeply believe in. But software is really good when you ask to do things that it was intended to do, and it might get a little, might go sideways on you if you start asking to do things that it wasn't intended to do. And so, Ethereum is much better at certain things, and Bitcoin is better at other things, and et cetera. And so when it comes to, a major ethic we have at Blockparty is it's equally important for us to be able to sell $25,000, $10,000 NFTs as it is $10,000, $25 NFTs. And so when it comes to attracting an audience of people that are familiar with NFTs and they want to buy collectibles that are much more rare or scarce, and provenance is always important, but for that, for certain things, Ethereum it just has a better use case. And then for other things where custody is more valued, higher transaction volume, higher transaction velocity, fan friendliness is sort of valued. We're big fans of Flow, and so we have sales coming up where a single creator will have a number of collectibles that are minted on ETH and a number of collectibles that are minted on Flow. Just again, coming back to a very simple idea that let's ask Ethereum NFTs to do things that Ethereum NFTs shine at. And just the same way, let's not ask it to do things that Ethereum NFTs wouldn't shine at. And if we're trying to sell in the Flow case, if the gas thing does, with Flow, the gas conversation comes much more into play with the vendors or the businesses that want to sell NFTs, because they're like, hey, our customers want a price point of like $50, $80, and our margin is 10%. And we want to sell a great many of these things. And so in that case, they get a little bit scared about Ethereum gas fees, because that might knock out their margin, or that might be more expensive than even the thing they want to sell. And so we end up, I think for the user, the users are most familiar with Ethereum, and the users are, if we have crypto savvy users, they are experienced with and oftentimes prefer Ethereum. And so with that, on the user side, we don't really get into the weeds of Ethereum or Flow or others, but certainly on the businesses that are coming onto NFTs and want to incorporate NFTs as part of how they do business, certainly conversations like margins and transactability become prioritized.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like every project is sort of in the same boat in terms of like you got Ethereum, and then it's like pick a friend, right? And Flow is a friend to a lot of people. Otherwise you're looking at like layer 2 solutions or something like Wax. There are a few other blockchains out there. Do you guys have any intentions on continuing to roll more blockchains into your project, or is this like basically Flow's the people you're buddying up with for all intents and purposes at this point?
Right now, I just want to get it right, and not to bite off more than we could chew. It took us all of fall just to make sure that we're doing exactly what we hope to do and accomplish by having custodial chain talk to Ethereum on both like a lazy minting, on a direct minting. Like it took us just to get that right and make sure we got it right. It took us a while. And so we're taking our time with Flow as well. And whether or not we add more at this point is not the focus. I think I think my intentionality is to add more after flow, but let's see, right? I think can we get business that prefers wax? Can we get business that prefers others? I know that like there are projects that I really like Upland, that use EOS, and there are projects. I don't know. Well, I guess the short answer is like we'll see. The intentionality is there, but right now we're just trying to get the flow interoperability right.
So then I still think it would be interesting if, like, Joseph, you could kind of go into the guts of NFT protocol and kind of explain how everything is interrelated here. I still feel like I'm sort of grokking the connection, but having it made more explicit would probably be helpful for our listeners too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to follow up with the question about like why other blockchains. I don't think gas fees are really the killer reasoning for using other chains. I think the philosophy in software is super important, and that Flow as a blockchain that's focused on NFTs and focused on building different aspects and different communities around NFTs, and them having announced a raise that puts them at a 2.5 billion valuation, and they're going to be spending all that cash on supporting NFTs and the NFT ecosystem and introducing people to NFTs. I think that when it comes to predicting where these different chains are going to go and what kind of support they have for the type of work that we're doing, I think that Flow is like 1,000x aligned above other chains. So just to touch on that a little bit, and to explain what we're doing at NFT Protocol is also philosophy-based, in my opinion. And when it comes to building software, you have to think about the future, and you have to think about the people that are building it and the people that support it, especially when it comes to decentralized solutions. So you have a decentralized solution for digital gold, which is Bitcoin, and you have a decentralized solution for the world computer, which is Ethereum. And what NFT Protocol and our DEX should be is a way for NFTs to gain more features and for the users to have different options that they didn't have before when they trade NFTs and when they want to use their NFTs for different things. So for example, we're creating the NFT.org DEX, which is going to have some additional features on top of what you would expect in a traditional decentralized exchange. So for example, a lot of users in our Telegram want to use like a sort of like an OTC or like a direct trade mechanism. And the only thing that they can do right now is either trust each other and trade, or use a site like OpenSea or something like that to post their NFT. But then the problem is everyone can view it and everyone can see it, and there's no privacy. What we're doing is we're adding a privacy layer on top of these types of OTC transactions. So something like AirSwap, where you can go in and define the own terms of your own trade instead of using a DEX or like a predetermined auction site. You can specifically define who you want to be able to purchase this, who you want it to be visible to, and what the terms of the deal are. So you can do a one-to-one trade of NFT to NFT. You could do a trade of NFT to ERC20. You can do pretty much anything you want, and then also restrict it to a certain set of users who can view that auction or view that trade. So if you and I wanted to trade an NFT for an NFT, or you and I wanted to trade an NFT for ERC20, but I didn't want anyone else to like snipe it, or like a bot to look at it, or anyone to have the option of trading it besides you, I can add your name to the list of verified users that can view that. So privacy is one big thing. Also, I think people don't think about Web3 as a concept. I think Web3 as a concept is extremely important because the entire reason of using a blockchain is that everything is decentralized. I mean, you can put Uniswap on a central server and make it look and feel the same, but would it really be Uniswap? The thing is, it has to be completely permissionless, and it has to be able to be run without a central server for it to be really like using the concepts that make blockchain strong. So in that way, we're focusing NFT Protocol on having a decentralized front end and making sure that the lists and like the interface are not controlled by any central party, because that gives them control over what's sold and the flow of information on the website. So making it as decentralized as possible using IPFS or Arweave or even CS Skynet for the front end, super important to us. Making sure that we have lists managed like Uniswap has lists for tokens. Those lists should be managed by the community. They should be subscribable by the community. They should be a decentralized voting process to make that happen. And the NFT protocol token itself will be a governance token as well as other things. So that's kind of what the high level view of what the protocol does and some examples of its features. And we're excited to build it out.
Dude, going back to the thing that you mentioned about privacy, I feel like that's coming up a lot lately, and it makes sense, man. I mean, if you look into anyone's wallet, you can, learn a lot about somebody, especially someone who's been in the space for a long time. Interested to know, like, who you see as like the target audience, or who's like most interested in those privacy features, or like, if they're like certain types of NFTs or NFT projects, or is it just, people like their privacy, or who do you see as the biggest users of that specific feature?
Ideally, it should be everybody, but the reasoning that behind making this feature was that we saw many users in Telegram chats, not only our own but other NFT focused, trading focused chats, doing deals with each other, and for the most part, they were just sending MetaMask to MetaMask. And there you have the problem of who sends first and like, is it a scam? A lot of times they would have an admin escrow, and it's just completely unnecessary to have that third party, control or trust in the system when we have trustless systems like Ethereum.
So in terms of kind of like getting, I guess, folks to interact with this and use this, I mean, what is the promotion? What's the marketing play to kind of spread awareness? It seems like this approach should be a slam dunk, especially for folks who've been in the space and should kind of appreciate these Web3 principles and everything like that. How are you going to approach that problem?
I think the best way to approach it is to just gain users organically through expanding in the crypto space. There are tons of people that are trying out NFTs for the first time, and it's kind of like this river of information, and we have to like set up on top of that and make sure that we're like part of that current and part of that stream of information. And the best way to do that is to get involved with everyone who's producing NFTs and producing NFT-based software. So for example, if we want to expand to other L1s or perhaps layer 2s that are focused on NFTs, then we can gain the mind share and not only contribute to their protocol, but get onboard their users to what we're doing and give them all the advantage of using our software as well.
Awesome, man. I mean, it seems like every project like this has like green pastures in front of them with the amount of people like flooding into the space right now. So it seems like you've timed the market, or I don't know, maybe we've all timed the market properly. Just out of curious, what everyone's sort of got their like interest in like side projects or their like little hobbies in the NFT space, or at least it seems like it for people who have been around for a while. And one of the things we always like to ask people who come on the podcast is to sort of like, you don't have to like literally open your wallet, but to give us sort of like a sneak peek into the, take off the privacy layer and, let us know what you guys are interested in on the side, or, maybe some projects that you guys think are cool that don't necessarily have anything to do with your own.
Personally, I really like the idea of digital rights and rights management as an NFT, also insurance policies as an NFT. There's a conversation happening in the Ethereum space around what the best way to use this protocol is. And I think external to art and videos and creative works, an NFT at its core in the ERC 721 standard and the 1155 standard, these are standards for basically any type of information that's unique. And using that as a database entry that's tradable is something that can be applicable to almost any type of commerce. So that's where I'm most excited, is seeing where NFTs become valuable outside of art. I think that the art is sort of like the Trojan horse of NFTs, where everyone like celebrates it and likes it as like a conceptual thing that is pleasing to their eyes. But eventually, like NFTs as a concept and as a piece of architecture will live on as something more important and something more relevant to let's say, the business or the more left brain activities that we do every day.
Yeah. One of the thing that really, the catalyst that really got me serious about tapping into my art background is when I met Eve Sussman in 2019. Yeah, it was at some point in 2019. I met Eve Sussman, and she was working on her NFT that she did with Snark Art, and just talking about what ownership means for art. And it was the first time where I was like, holy shit. And Eve Sussman, like, the work that she created NFTs from is owned by the greatest museums in the world. And I'm like, this is just not something that's available to me. And she's taking her artist proof and destroying the original VHS and breaking up the video into individual NFTs. Like, maybe it's 1/2000th of the piece, but like, I get to own a piece of an Eve fucking Sussman. So like, I went nuts and I bought, and so I bought 12 of those. I was excited about that. And, I've been, just like, as I kind of do this annoying thing where I tweet a number 4 alert sometimes when Blockparty does a drop, and I have to buy one for myself because it's from the 10 Crack Commandments. Rule number 4: never get high in your own supply. So I'm just like, okay, I got to do it. So I have bought a bunch of Blouse NFTs across different platforms. I really do like what RAC did with the videotape on Zora. I was in on that one. I have not more recently the NFTs that I'm like shopping for off of Blockparty are I've loved generative art for many years, and I bought a Dmitry Cherniak before he started working on art blocks, and so I've been really into the NFTs that express their traits directly on chain. And so I've not. So I know if you crack open my private wallet, I mean, you'll see. I did purchase one of the Euler Beats NFTs that I'm super psyched about, and some of the things that I'm really getting into nowadays. And I swear to God, I'm not just saying this to gas anybody up here, but like, I'm into Avastars, and I'm into I'm really looking into more.
Consider me gassed up.
but I really am looking into more of these types of NFTs like Avastars and like Euler Beats and like these, and I'll tell you why. It's because I do come from the fine art world, and I think a lot of the time I hear NFTs misrepresented as certificates of authenticity, which they are not. For not always. Very many of the NFTs that are being traded nowadays are not certificates of authenticity in the way that certificates of authenticity need to be defined. And that's totally okay, by the way. In the fine art world, certificates of authenticity aren't really a thing anymore. When it comes to like the Warhols and the Basquiats of the world, those foundations stopped issuing certificates of authenticity a long time ago because they can't tell real from fake anymore. And so, you basically get a certificate of title when you buy it from a gallery or from any source. And so when you want to go resell it at Sotheby's, they're not going to ask you for certificate of authenticity. They're going to ask you for the chain of title. And that's basically another way of saying, hey, we can't tell if this Warhol is the one true Warhol of the very many knockoffs of this Warhol. And we're going to admit that. We're going to accept it for auction or not accept it for auction based on, do we think you could reasonably be the one that has the one true Warhol because you bought it from a gallery that got it from whomever who got it from Andy himself. And that's a very key distinction, right? Because oftentimes in NFTs, that's really what's happening, right? We can't tell the one true original file of all the copies in all the land. But by buying the token, we were at least reasonably sure that the token holder is able to resell it because they are the person that bought the media that they bought. And so that's totally fine. But I guess I'm just pedantic, and let's call a certificate of title what it is and a certificate of authenticity what it is. What makes me excited about projects like Art Blocks and projects like Avastars and projects like Euler Beats is that that actually satisfies my need and my pedanticism for calling an NFT a certificate of authenticity. And so when people ask me, especially from the art world, like there's so much stuff out there, like what should we be looking at? What should we be investing in? What do you think has staying power? And my answer is usually those types of projects, because I tell people and I follow my own advice is try to stick to NFTs that most closely are actually resemble what would be a certificate of authenticity.
That's actually a really fascinating insight into like viewing on-chain art or assets, actually. But I wanted to make sure that we ask both of you if there's anything else that you guys would like to kind of touch on or mention before we wrap this up.
I'd just say check out the nft.org website. We've got docs, we've got decks coming up, we've got some special specific projects that we're working on for the decks release with artists and directors in the movie space. So check it out. It's going to be launching soon.
Yeah, I would just second that. I think where NFT Protocol is going to shine is the decks, and the way that we're starting to see projects that are specifically valuing decentralization, specifically valuing all the things that NFT Protocol can do. Like community-driven projects are signing on to this protocol that I'm really excited about. So keep an eye on that, nft.org.
Great. And then Joseph and Vlad, I just want to thank you both for taking the time to speak with us today about what you're building out with NFT Protocol and everything that you've been doing with Blockparty. It was a pleasure to speak with you and keep on creating.
Thank you so much. And thank you both so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys. This is great.
Hey everyone, Matthew here. Thank you for listening to today's show. I just want to remind everyone of this month's sponsor, Whale Street. Whale Street is the DeFi engine that powers NFT economics on a massive scale. They make huge currency swaps happen, or whale swaps as they're called, with very small slippage costs and without crashing the system. They also engineered the largest ever NFT bundle and fractionalized it into the historic B20 tokens. Whale Street is all about upside, so dip into the liquidity pools for rich rewards. For B20, join discord.com/whale. That's discord.com/WHALE. And follow Whale Street on Twitter @WhaleStreetOFFL. Thank you, and see you next episode.
Podcast. Matthew Rizzle. Send podcast. Let them know, y'all. Send podcast. Matthew Rizzle. Send podcast.